Fish hounding Clark. Clark, step back three, knocks it down!
It was supposed to be the game, the turning point of the season. The night when the Indiana Fever would finally step out of the shadows of mediocrity and show the world they belonged among the league's best. With rookie sensation Caitlyn Clark dazzling crowds every night, and head coach Stephanie White tasked with shaping a young, dynamic team into contenders, hope was alive in Indiana. Fans packed the stands, eager to witness a statement victory. The lights were brighter, the cameras more focused, and the buzz surrounding the Fever was electric. This wasn't just another regular season contest. It was a moment, a chance to rewrite the narrative. The matchup against the reigning champions, the Las Vegas Aces, was about more than just the final score. It was about legitimacy, respect, and momentum. Instead, it turned into an outright basketball disaster, a humiliating 36-point defeat. The Aces didn't just win, they dominated, exposing every weakness in the Fever's playbook. As the game spiraled out of control, frustration grew in the stands and online. Fans began to turn, not just on the team, but on the leader. At the heart of the chaos stood Stephanie White, now thrust into the spotlight not for glory, but for the fallout that followed. What went wrong? Let's dive in. Heading into the showdown, the Fever had momentum. Not huge momentum, but a flicker, enough to stir excitement, enough to make people believe that maybe, just maybe, this team was turning the corner. Caitlyn Clark had just delivered a stunning double-double performance, lighting up the stat sheet with her signature flair. Aaliyah Boston was rediscovering the dominance that earned her Rookie of the Year honors, anchoring the paint and bringing balance to the squad. Fever fans, battered by years of mediocrity and blown leads, were finally daring to hope. They were tired of being the league's punchline and craved something real to hold on to. The buzz was undeniable. Social media lit up with predictions and hype. ESPN teased the matchup relentlessly. Tickets sold out. Prices on resale platforms skyrocketed. This wasn't just a game on the calendar, it was the game. A measuring stick, a chance to announce, we've arrived. And yet, everyone knew in their gut, this wouldn't be easy. The Las Vegas Aces were no ordinary opponent. They were the defending champs, loaded with battle-tested talent. Aja Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum. This wasn't going to be a game, it was going to be a battle, or so we thought. From the very first possession, it became clear this wasn't going to be a close contest. The Aces came out guns blazing, full court pressure, blitzing the pick and roll, and taking away Clark's ability to create. Before the Fever could blink, it was 12-0. The crowd, confused, frustrated, silent. And here's the thing, Stephanie White didn't call a timeout. That's what set the tone. That one decision, or indecision. It was like watching a fire grow in your living room and choosing not to grab the extinguisher. By the end of the first quarter, it was 32-12. The Fever had more turnovers than field goals. The Aces shot 60%. And Clark double-teamed every trip down. By halftime, 58-28. A 30-point deficit. At home, on national television. You could feel the energy drain from the building. And worse, you could feel the fans turning. Turning not on the players, but on the coach. Now, let's get into the coaching, because that's where most of the criticism lies, and frankly, it's hard to ignore. This wasn't just a case of a team being outplayed, it was a case of a team looking completely unprepared, and that spotlight naturally landed on Stephanie White. Throughout the game, she made a series of baffling decisions that had fans, commentators, and former players scratching their heads. One of the most talked about moves? Leaving Caitlyn Clark on the bench for a long stretch in the third quarter, precisely when the team needed a spark. The Fever were collapsing, yet their best playmaker sat iced on the sidelines. Then there were the randomized lineups, groups of players thrown together with little chemistry or in-game experience.
To deal with early in the season as well. Really the last couple years, Cameron Brink trying to get and stay healthy. Oh, Mitchell's turn.
She kept Kelsey Mitchell on the floor despite an ice-cold shooting night and visible struggles on defense. And defensively, she stuck with a man-to-man scheme, even as the Aces repeatedly sliced through it with pick and rolls and motion plays. The result? Chaos. Even ESPN's Rebecca Lobo was stunned on air. I don't know what the Fever are doing right now. I haven't seen a single adjustment. By the fourth, it was undeniable. The boos were directed at one person, the coach. The press conference was supposed to be routine. A few questions, a quick wrap-up, and then on to the next game. Just another post-game debrief, win or lose. But what unfolded was anything but ordinary. It became the moment. A full-on emotional eruption that hijacked headlines, flooded timelines, and became the #1 trending clip across every major sports platform. It started with a pointed, but fair, question from a local beat reporter, delivered with calm professionalism. Coach White, fans are placing a lot of blame on your decisions tonight. Do you take responsibility for this loss?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is what we have to do as a staff to get her better looks, like higher quality looks. Every game plan is going to be to make her score inside the three-point line.
Immediately, the energy in the room shifted. Stephanie White's demeanor transformed. Her jaw visibly tightened, her posture straightened, and her eyes locked in. She took a breath, and then unleashed a wave of emotion that had clearly been bottled up for weeks, if not months. "Let me tell you something," she said sharply. "I've played this game. I've coached this game. I live this game, and I'm so sick of this lazy narrative that blames the coach every time something doesn't go right. But she didn't stop there. Her tone grew more intense. "You want to sit in this chair? You want to deal with 4 rookies, a national media circus, and a fan base screaming for results in a rebuild year? Be my guest. But don't pretend like you know what it's like when you've never walked in these shoes." The room fell silent. No scribbles of pens, no follow-up questions, just stunned reporters and flashing cameras. In that moment, Stephanie White wasn't just coaching anymore. She was standing up for herself, for her profession, and maybe for every coach who's ever been scapegoated. In contrast, Caitlyn Clark's post-game demeanor was calm, composed, even gracious, the kind of maturity you'd expect from a seasoned pro, not a rookie carrying the weight of a franchise. She didn't deflect blame or point fingers. When asked about the loss, she kept it short and accountable. "It was a tough night. They're a great team. We didn't play well. I didn't play well. I'll take the blame." When reporters tried to probe deeper, asking whether she agreed with some of Coach White's controversial decisions, Caitlyn stayed loyal. "Coach is doing her job. It's on us to execute. We win together, we lose together." But let's not sugarcoat it. Her body language said it all. Slumped shoulders, subdued tone, long stares at the floor. She looked mentally and emotionally drained. Not just from a bad game, from carrying the burden of expectations, pressure, and chaos off the court. Fans noticed, and so did the cameras. Social media exploded with speculation. Is Caitlyn losing trust in the system? She's checked out emotionally. We can't say for sure, but when your star rookie starts speaking like a 10-year veteran in damage control mode, something deeper is brewing behind the scenes. Let's talk about the fans, because they've become more than just spectators in this story. They're emotionally invested, vocal, and now a driving force in shaping the narrative around the Indiana Fever. On one hand, their frustration is absolutely valid. The Fever have been stuck in a cycle of mediocrity and rebuilding for years. They've watched losing seasons, roster shakeups, and missed playoff hopes. So when Caitlyn Clark was drafted, a generational talent and media magnet, fans didn't just expect excitement, they expected a shift, a spark, a reason to believe. Instead, what they've gotten are lopsided losses, miscommunications on the court, and a team that often looks defeated before halftime. But here's the nuance. This was never supposed to be a championship year. No one promised a title. The Fever were expected to grow slowly, gel over time, and build a foundation. Yet in the age of social media, even the diehards have started to voice their anger. It's not the loss, it's the lack of effort. This isn't what we were sold. And that's where the pressure truly begins, not from within, but from the outside in. And the backlash wasn't just from fans. Former players, coaches, and analysts all weighed in, and they didn't hold back. The consensus was clear. The Fever's performance wasn't just poor, it was embarrassing. And much of that blame pointed to the top. Candace Parker, speaking on NBA TV, was direct. "You can't get blown out like that and not take some accountability. That's on the coach." Diana Taurasi, never one to mince words, added, "That's not how you protect your players. The coach has to be the buffer, not the lightning rod." And perhaps the most stinging critique came from Becky Hammon, head coach of the Aces, who offered a subtle but sharp post-game jab. "We knew what they'd run. We knew how to stop it." That wasn't just confidence. That was a cold, clinical takedown of Stephanie White's game plan. When an opposing coach flat out says your playbook is predictable, it's not just a tactical issue, it's a leadership problem. Rumors have started to swirl about growing tension inside the Fever locker room. And if true, it could explain a lot about the team's recent struggles. Some players reportedly feel that everything revolves around Caitlyn Clark. From the offensive sets to the media coverage to the marketing campaigns. She's the face of the franchise, but that spotlight has cast some deep shadows in the locker room. Others believe that Stephanie White is trying too hard to keep everyone happy, walking a tightrope between elevating her star rookie and not alienating the rest of the roster. The result? Leadership that feels uncertain, even absent. One Fever insider told a local reporter, "Stephanie's trying to keep the team together, but it's fragile. You can feel the cracks forming." If that's accurate, then White's viral post-game rant, no matter how passionate or justified, may have unintentionally widened those cracks. A coach's role isn't just drawing up plays, it's building trust, unity, and culture. And right now, that culture looks fractured. Let's zoom out for a moment. The WNBA is evolving, not gradually but rapidly. It's no longer a niche league fighting for relevance. It's on national broadcasts, dominating social media, and attracting record-breaking crowds. More eyes mean more cameras, more opinions, and far more pressure, not just on players, but on coaches, staff, and entire organizations. When Caitlyn Clark entered the league, she didn't just bring talent, she brought a tidal wave of expectations, media attention, and commercial value. That spotlight now burns hottest on a team and coaching staff that, by all accounts, may not have been fully prepared for this kind of visibility. Stephanie White is a capable, experienced coach. Her resume proves that. But this is more than X's and O's now. It's about navigating egos, managing public perception, and leading under a national microscope. Simply put, it's not just basketball anymore. It's brand management. This moment, this meltdown, is more than just a viral soundbite. It's a defining fork in the road for the Indiana Fever. Option 1, the team rallies. Stephanie White's fiery defense of her role sparks a renewed sense of urgency. Players respond with grit. They may not win immediately, but they start playing like a unit with something to prove. With heart, hustle, and hope. The losses become learning moments instead of morale killers. Option 2, the internal cracks deepen. The locker room splinters. Trust in the system fades. Caitlyn Clark, already burdened by expectations, grows distant. Stephanie White loses not just the locker room, but her authority, her influence, and eventually, her position. And let's be real, WNBA coaches don't survive option 2. Not in this media climate, not with a franchise centerpiece in turmoil. The next 5 games won't just shape the standings, they'll reveal who this team really is. Stephanie White's outburst was real, raw, and in some ways deeply relatable. Coaching at the professional level isn't for the faint of heart. It's a high-stakes job where the praise is rare and the criticism is relentless. When things go wrong, especially on national television, the coach often becomes the lightning rod. And when you're leading a team like the Fever in the middle of a high-pressure rebuild with the brightest spotlight in league history shining on your rookie phenom, the pressure multiplies. One bad game feels like the sky is falling. But here's the reality. Stephanie White isn't just calling plays. She's steering a franchise trying to find its identity. Her leadership, poise, and decision-making in the coming weeks will shape not only the rest of this season, but the long-term chemistry of the locker room. The fans are watching, hungry for growth, hope, and effort. The media is watching, analyzing every quote, every lineup, every timeout. But most importantly, Caitlyn Clark is watching, and if White loses the trust and belief of her star player, the entire foundation begins to shake. Because in the WNBA, just like any pro league, you can rebuild a roster. But once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild the culture. So, what do you think? Was Stephanie White justified in defending herself with passion? Or should she have absorbed the heat with more accountability? Is this a bump in the road or a warning sign of something deeper unraveling? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications for more